Debates about which NBA player is better have been around for a long time, and we're not going to stop them anytime soon. Today, we're going to be covering a topic that's going to be tough to figure out. Who's the better player between Kevin Garnett or Dirk Nowitzki? Let's dive into these two guys and figure out which one's going to come out on top. The first thing we're going to be covering is scoring. Kevin Garnett was never really known as a true scorer in the league, but that doesn't mean that he couldn't put the ball in the basket consistently. Throughout his legendary career, Garnett was able to hold on to an average of 17.8 points per game. He definitely wasn't the greatest sharpshooter, which is to be expected, but outside of that, his efficiency was solid. He was shooting 49.7% from the field. Of course, he was 27.5% from behind the arc. He was also 78.9% at the free throw line. His best season came back in 2003-2004 with the Minnesota Timberwolves when he was able to drop 24.2 points per game that season.
Looking inside. They lob it to Garnett beneath the foul line. The fadeaway with a hand in his face in the air for the win! Yes!
All right, flipping over to Dirk Nowitzki. Dirk had a little bit better scoring reputation. He averaged 20.7 points per game over the course of his career and was unbelievably efficient when doing so. He was shooting a blistering 47.1% from the field, 38% from three-point range, and he shot 87.9% from the charity stripe. When it comes to his best scoring year, that came back in 2005-2006 with the Mavericks when he was dropping 26.6 points per game.
21 points for Ginobili, 19 of the second half. Nowitzki goes right at Bowen, and the foul!
Bottom line, Nowitzki has been the better scorer over the course of his career. He averages more points per game on his career, he has a higher points per game season high than Garnett, and he shot better from behind the arc and from the free throw line. So even with Garnett's slightly better efficiency from the field, Dirk definitely takes the scoring crown here. An area that these two are pretty close in is the defense category. We'll start off with Garnett. He's been able to average 1.3 steals per game throughout his time in the league. His highest season average came all the way back in the 1997-98 campaign, and this was when he was racking up steals at a 1.7 per game clip. When it comes to his rim protection and block shots, he was excellent. He averaged 1.4 blocks per game in all of his time in the league, and his peak blocks per game average came when he was entering the 2003-2004 season at 2.2 a night. The stat that really shows how dominant Garnett was on the defensive end comes in the form of his defensive rating. Obviously, you're looking for a lower defensive rating compared to a higher one, and over the course of his entire career, we did the research and found that his average defensive rating was locked in at 99.0. This is an absolutely incredible number for a power forward to have.
Sura penetrating right to Keith. Garnett there, sent it back again.
Intimidation.
Now as for Dirk Nowitzki, he wasn't known for his defensive intelligence. Dirk averaged just 0.8 steals per game throughout his whole career, and he kept a similar 0.8 average for his blocks. It's pretty apparent already that defense was not his primary focus. His best steals average in a single game came where he averaged 1.4 in the 2002-2003 campaign, but he never found a way to top it again since that. Now as for his blocking and rim protection, his highest was 1.5 during that following year in 2004-2005. Already, we can tell that Garnett is the better defensive player, but maybe Nowitzki's defensive rating would be able to get it back to even. So we calculated the average. Dirk was only able to hold on to a defensive rating of 104.0 over his long career with the Mavs. But mind you, that's actually a really good defensive rating to have. It's just not enough to say that he was the better defender compared to Kevin Garnett. So these two guys are split dead even at 1-1 so far in this debate. Dirk has the scoring, while Garnett has essentially everything you can want on defense. So let's talk about accolades now. They both played 21 years in the league and found similar success. Dirk made it into the postseason 15 times, all with the same team, mind you, while Garnett only made it 14 times. Dirk also found his way onto 14 All-Star games, 12 All-NBA teams, and won both a Finals and regular season MVP award.
Dirk Nowitzki.
Flipping over to Garnett in these accolades, he pretty much sweeps it out of the ballpark. He made it into 15 All-Star games, he won a regular season MVP, made it onto 9 All-NBA teams, 12 All-Defensive teams, won the Player of the Year award, he won a rebounds crown 4 different years. And when it comes to All-Defensive teams, Garnett was on the first team 9 times, was on the All-NBA first team 4 times. Dirk was on the All-NBA first team and even 4 times too, but he didn't get a single add-on to the All-Defensive squad. Plus, there's no advantage when it comes to NBA championships. Both of these guys were able to win a championship before their career ended. So now that we've covered all these accolades, it's looking like we gotta give this one to Garnett. He doesn't have a Finals MVP, but he smokes Dirk in the all-defensive categories and in the 4 rebounding crowns, not to mention that Defensive Player of the Year award he won too. So before we move on to the second half of this video, let's take a brief break to cover some of these guys' highlights.
Steal by Ricky, good anticipation. Got to be bright. He's got KG trailing the play. Ticket right there.
I'd take a double technical foul. Let him shoot 2 free throws.
Here's to Garnett. Garnett inside, backs it in, and a foul. What a play from Kevin Garnett.
And McGinnis fires it down. James cross court.
The long arm of the law. Oh, boy.
Carter, back to Mark James. Then it's Carter from Dirk. 5 seconds. Dirk for 3. Yes, sir!
And the rest is history. He's been hot all night.
And let me also
all afternoon.
Yeah, and let me also add that Thibodeau is well known for
You knew what they were going to do. Go get it out of his hands. And Dirk says, too late.
The Mavs by 2.
Alright, as we get back into it, Garnett might have a 2-1 lead here, but let's talk about the head-to-head matchups between Dirk and Garnett's teams. These two guys got to play against one another a total of 40 times over their career, with 3 of them coming in the postseason. Out of those 37 regular season games, Dirk won the majority, taking 20 of them compared to Garnett's 17. Dirk also won more playoff games by winning all 3 of their matchups. When it comes to the numbers though, Garnett makes quite a compelling argument for himself. KG averaged 21.9 points, 12.1 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 1.3 steals, and 1.2 blocks per game. Now as for Dirk, he averaged 23.9 points in their head-to-head games, but only 8.8 rebounds, 2 assists, 0.8 steals, and 0.8 blocks per game. Dirk continues to be the better scorer, and he won more games, but at the same time, Garnett performed better against him in literally every other aspect of the game. Alright, the final section we're going to talk about is team impact, which makes this debate 10 times more heated. Garnett was a very successful player practically everywhere he went. He was a dude that you hated to go up against, but you loved to have on your team. He helped his team get into the playoffs a number of times, but he didn't win a championship until he got a few other stars to partner up with him.
Looking inside, Robinson. Oh, Garnett! Where did he come from?
Now as for Dirk, he was somebody that remained loyal to one team throughout his career, and he carried them hard enough to the point where he made the playoffs 15 years with them. For just one guy to make it into the postseason that many times with a single team, that's just absurd. There was just no rebuilding with him there either, and it wasn't often that another star would partner up with him in Dallas. During Nowitzki's championship run, he did it with the Mavericks despite them being the underdogs in every single series they went into. Nobody expected that team, led by Dirk, to win it all, and yet he consistently dragged them up above expectations. That's something not many other players can say that they've been able to do, and it's the reason why I would say he was the bigger impact player compared to Garnett. That championship run was just so special, and if you take Dirk off of those Dallas teams, there's no way they win that championship. I don't even know if they make the playoffs 6 times, let alone 15.
He's the guy coming off.
Drives right by Daniels. Oh! Dirk raises the roof by rocket.
So now that we've covered all of that, we come down to the decision of who's the better player, Dirk Nowitzki or Kevin Garnett. There's a good way of looking at this. Garnett might be the more gifted player that gave it all on defense and earned a tremendous number of accolades for his overall play on the floor. However, we think Dirk Nowitzki is the greater player due to some of the things that he was able to do when scoring the basketball and lifting his teammates up to levels that nobody could have ever thought possible. So let us know down below in the comments if you think we got it wrong or if we were able to nail it right on the head.